This is a real easy method for making Stefan darts. This is how you start. You want to get this stuff here, polyfoam cocksaver. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store. It comes in different diameters. Half inch is what you want to use for streamlined darts. It comes in a 20-foot roll. You can get about 75 darts, which is what I have here. The only drawback is it doesn't have a hole down the center, so you're going to have to create that if you want to use it for guns like the Nerf Maverick, like mine here, and that's what I plan on using it for, so that's how I'm going to have to do it. The best way to do it is to get your darts and find a straw that's about medium diameter. Put a couple small slits in the end of the straw so that it has kind of a sharp cutting blade edge to it. Then you take your Nerf dart, try and find the center of the dart, because it's very important to make sure that you get the hole in the dead center of the dart, otherwise it won't fly straight. And you get it started on there, and it's a little tough to start at first, but once you get it going, it actually cuts pretty well. And you can kind of feel with your fingers as you're pushing the straw through and turning it to keep it on track, keep it centered in the dart. And the best way I found to do it is to go about halfway in on one side and then flip the dart over and go about halfway in on the other side. Now, if you did it correctly, what you should end up with when you're done and it connects through on both sides is one piece of the center of the dart that's perfectly round and perfectly intact, and it should come out in one solid piece, and you should be able to see perfectly clean through the dart. It takes a little practice to get the hang of using the straw to cut the hole through the dart, but once you do a few of them, you really get the hang of it and it becomes easy and quick. Now the second part came about because I was having a problem with consistency with the tips of the darts that I was using. I was trying to use just hot glue, and it was melting the darts, and it was causing all sorts of problems. I was getting different amounts, different weights. They were flying different. Some were curving. So the way I came up with to solve this was to make uniform tips ahead of time and then just attach them to the dart later. So the method I finally chose was to use a Play-Doh recipe that I found on the internet. It was real easy, a few simple ingredients. Roll it out into a sheet, and then I poked holes that were the same size diameter as the inside of the dart. That way I could fill it up with hot glue and let it bubble up over the top a little bit, and it would have a nice round dome-shaped tip. They would fly through the air, and by doing it this way ahead of time, it wouldn't melt the dart, and I would get a consistent glue tip each time. This part's pretty straightforward. You just get the recipe, roll it out, and make sure you keep a consistent hole depth, and you use a consistent amount of glue droplet in the hole to get a tip that weighs exactly the same amount each time. That way all your darts are uniform and they fly the same way. As soon as you're done, put the tips in the freezer and let them solidify. Now the advantage of using Play-Doh is that once you pop the tip pieces out of the mold, you can just wash them off and the Play-Doh rinses off, no problem. The last step is to join your uniform tip pieces to the hollowed out dart bodies that you made. You can use an ink pen to kind of hollow out a space for it. I usually looked at both ends of the dart body and picked the end that didn't look the greatest to glue the tip on. And I just applied a little tiny bit of glue, too much, and it will actually melt the dart. You can use a little bit more glue, but then you have to wait a second and let it start to harden before you join the body to the tip. And then just hold slight pressure, and if you did everything right, it should look just like this. I was only able to get about 65 out of this run. Normally I'd probably get more like 75 or 80, but I did do a lot of testing. And you'll see that the darts that you made, they'll load just like regular darts. You push them in a little bit further, and they work really, really well with the Maverick. I think they work better than the stock Nerf darts. So there you have it, 65, 75 darts that fire harder and better than regular darts for about $5. All you really need is foam and maybe a couple glue sticks and a lot of time. And if you're going to have a custom painted Nerf gun, I think that the silver gray looking Stefan darts look way better than the bright neon Nerf darts. Just be careful because they do sting a little bit when you get hit with them.